Music from the wrong side of the tracks. This is a show that drags you through the gritty alleys of sleaze rock, gutter glam, and all forms of dirty rock and roll. We're here to crank up the volume and dive deep into the dirtiest, sleaziest, most glamorous rock and roll out there. Whether it's the classics or the underground hits, we've got you covered. And now, here are your hosts, Andy and Gary.
Hey, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. My name is Gary, and with me is the co-host and creator, Andy. Andy, say something.
Howdy, folks. Thanks for joining us again today.
What do you think that we cover a split episode, Andy, of two female-fronted bands that people may or may not be very familiar with? One's Princess Pang, and the other is Betty Blowtorch. And what can you tell us about Princess Pang, Andy?
Princess Pang is an intercontinental band that has members from both Sweden and the United States. It was a one-and-done band where they had one really great album and then fizzled out immediately after.
When about did this happen?
Back in 1989 was when the album was released, but the whole band started technically in 1985 when vocalist Jenny Foster meets bassist Ronnie Rose on New Year's Eve in Manhattan. The two quickly bonded over their shared vision of starting a band.
Let's start a band.
And when Rose had to return to Sweden to renew his visa, Foster decides to go with him. And together they find guitarist Andy Tiernan.
Silent J, one of those Euro names. Sweden, TJ.
Gotcha. Otherwise known as Andy K.
Well, that clears it up.
Yeah, much easier to pronounce on a podcast.
Pigeon.
This trio would initially bring Princess Pang to life, and they begin recording demos, but they're struggling to find the right drummer to complete their lineup.
Is that the way it always goes?
Yeah, we all know how drummers are, Gary.
Why? They told me that drummers were a dime a dozen, but apparently
not. More like a nickel a dozen.
Princess Pang struggled to find the right drummer.
Yeah, so I guess they repeatedly sent their demos to drummer Brian Keats. And Keats had worked with Rose in another band titled Angels in Vain.
Come on, Brian, join up, lad.
Yeah, they kept trying to convince him to join, but apparently he wasn't sold on it.
Come on, Brian, join up, lad.
But ultimately, their persistence pays off, and in the fall of '86, Keats finally comes on board when the group returned to the United States.
Okay, I'll join.
And then they solidified the lineup with the addition of guitarist Jay Lewis.
Is there any money in it for me?
None at all.
All right, then. I'm in.
With a sound that blends sleazy hard rock and blues-driven grit. There's that grit word again.
Exactly, grit.
Princess Pang quickly made a name for themselves on the East Coast club circuit.
Yeah, quickly made a name for themselves.
Yeah, the name was Princess Pang.
I think that East Coast is a little bit harder to make it than the West Coast. They're less forgiving. Maybe, I don't know, because if it's a climate thing or whatever. But if you can make it on the East Coast, more power to you.
Yeah, it's a much tougher market, I feel.
Well, what happened to the band?
The band ends up signing with Metal Blade Records in 1989, and they go and record and release that only full-length album titled Princess Pang.
But it's a good album.
Very good. It was produced by Steve Lunt, who's worked with some pretty big names. Yeah, exactly. He's worked with some pretty big names in the industry. Pretty sure he's worked with artists like Joan Jett and Cyndi Lauper, which, you don't get much more hard rock or metal than Cyndi Lauper.
Well, Cyndi and Joan on a dual bill.
Right.
That'd be great.
All right.
Girls just do you want to touch me there?
I always thought that Metal Blade Records was more of a really heavy metal leaning label, kind of more of the thrash style, but maybe with the sleaze rock shit, they were trying to go for a different market at the time. I mean, it is mid to late 80s.
I think the guy's name, if I'm correct, forgive me if I'm wrong, peeps, but I think the guy's name was Brian Slagle or something along those lines. And single-handedly with that Metal Blade Records, he revived a lot of the albums and listening content of bands that have fallen by the wayside. Single-handedly, tried to revive interest and had a heavyweight roster under the Metal Blades records, reissued a lot of the stuff that was out of print, like the Stars catalog from 1977. So Metal Blade Records had some clout, had some cachet.
Yeah, if you go check out their website, the list of bands that they work with is just endless. It's a huge fucking list.
Yeah, and a lot of these bands should be thankful because, they were in the cutout bins and largely forgotten until this guy came along. So credit where credit is due.
All hail Metal Blade Records.
Oh!
The band's self-titled album has a sleazy, gritty...
There's that gritty word again.
bluesy hard rock sound. And it's obviously heavily influenced by bands like Aerosmith, AC/DC, and Hanoi Rocks. The band's music really fits right in with the glam and sleaze rock movement from back in the late 1980s.
Yeah, the guitars are really good. The tone is, like every other band that was on the scene, but that's not taking away from them. Excellent guitar players, whatnot. But yeah, you are correct.
Yeah, their sound really has a, like we've discussed before about New York bands, has a more raw edge and
less slick.
Yeah, less slick than someone like, say, Poison.
Polished.
And their music combines a raw, streetwise energy with melodic hooks. And, they really fit in real well in that late 80s rock scene.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the East Coast. There's that East Coast thing again, just...
Yeah, that it just seems like a more aggressive market there. I'm not quite sure how to describe that.
Yeah, try lugging your amps through 3 feet of snow. You'd be pissed off, too.
Yeah, no shit. The album received moderate success. It had a mix of positive reviews and got some airplay on rock radio stations. Their single, Trouble in Paradise, even had a music video that got some good exposure on MTV's Headbangers Ball. But despite some radio airplay and a solid underground following, the band just didn't achieve real mainstream success.
So we're going to play a little bit of Princess Pang for you, and we're going to dive a little bit into that single, Trouble in Paradise. This song showcases the band's signature hard-driving blues rock style, their powerful vocals. She's a powerhouse on vocals.
Truly.
And catchy hooks. They know their way around a hook when they create the song. So here we go. This is Trouble in Paradise by Princess Pang. Pang!
Down
Following the album's release, Princess Pang ends up on the road, opening for bands like Mr. Big, that's what she said.
Hey now.
Ace Frehley and Wolfsbane.
Who?
A household name.
Wolfsbane.
Their live performances were really well received, and Jenny Foster being a particular standout. Her high-energy stage presence, combined with that band's tight musicianship, really helped develop a strong cult following. I mean, she's got that really powerful voice that just really fits this music well.
One of those ladies that can belt it out, you really belt it out, project the voice, got good range, good tonal abilities, good octaves.
Yeah, but despite that momentum, they really struggled to break into the mainstream. And this was, again, that era where grunge is starting to emerge. And it's the shifting rock scenes taking away from the glam-influenced hard rock.
Yeah, if you didn't have the machine behind you and things were changing, you were soon to be forgotten.
I think this was like the beginning of the Aquanet burnout era.
Yeah, we've had enough.
So let's listen to another song from the band, Find My Heart a Home. This song's a great example of the band's musical style, but this is not why I chose to play this song. We're going to run this song through the guitar solo because I think this solo was borrowed from another song that was a big hit a couple years earlier. In my head, I hear this song and I compare it to the solo from Mick Mars on Mötley Crüe's big hit, Home Sweet Home. You listen and you tell me, are there any similarities or am I just crazy?
Maybe chord structure, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, slightly slower version, but a very similar solo, at least to me.
They say imitation is the finest form of flattery, Andy.
Yeah, and also gets you sued.
Hey now.
Chip for my shoulder. Yeah, I was a real bad
Despite a solid album, a growing fan base, vocalist Jenny Foster leaves the band after their first tour.
Now, what would make somebody do that? Why would you leave Mixed Emotion, but a pretty solid album and tour, and then you just say, I'm done, lads?
Yeah, that's kind of an odd thing. I'm assuming maybe the band farted one too many times around her.
You never know. Traveling can be a bitch.
Yeah, life on the road. Unfortunately, Princess Pang disbands in the early 1990s due to the typical internal conflicts and the changing musical trends, and also lack of label support.
How about that being the biggest thing? Lack of label support.
I think that goes a long way, because if they're not pushing you, trying to get you on good tours and making sure you get airplay, what's going to happen for you?
We have to sleep in the van again?
God damn it, not again.
I don't like the panties hanging over the rod.
I don't mind that part. I don't want to see everybody else's underwear hanging over
Whoops,
the rod.
get it, don't bother me.
After Jenny leaves, the remaining members continue to demo material and audition a bunch of new vocalists, but 1990, they just decide to hang it up.
We couldn't find anybody suitable.
That really is a tough voice to replace. But following the split, the members go their separate ways, but really a lot of them stayed working in music. Jenny Foster continued to perform and collaborate with a lot of artists around the New York rock scene. She remained pretty active in music, even though she never reached any kind of level of success. Ronnie Rose on the bass. He continues working in the music industry, playing in different projects over the years that you've never heard of. Andy Tiernan, or
Tierjan, silent J.
Tierjan, or also known as Andy K.
Well, that clears it up.
There you go. He moves in a different musical direction, and there's not a lot publicly known about his later career, which translates into he didn't accomplish anything. Jay Lewis, the other guitar player, like other members, continued playing, but once again, relatively low profile, which means nobody knows. But Brian Keats, the drummer, he had the most notable post-Princess Pang career.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. He goes on to work with Mark Ford, who was once a member of the Black Crowes.
Yes.
Sylvain, well known from the New York Dolls.
Yes.
And even ends up playing for D-Generation.
Steve Conte. All right. Figures the drummer is the only one to make anything of himself out of the rest of the band.
Yeah, for once, somehow a drummer put something together and made a career.
Don't make me fight you in the courtyard.
Despite that short-lived career, Princess Pang still has a cult following amongst fans from late 80s hard rock and glam metal. That self-titled album remains a collector's item, with prices ranging from the low $30 to as much as $125.
A collector's item.
Yeah.
I own the cassette tape.
That must be worth a good solid, $40?
I don't know. Yeah. But I do have the cassette tape.
And, their music does resurface on streaming services. You can find them on Spotify, YouTube, and even on this show. The band's raw, energetic sound, female-fronted approach makes them stand out a little bit amongst the male-dominated hard rock scene from the late 1980s. Fans of bands like Vixen, Lita Ford, and Joan Jett, they often list Princess Pang to be an underrated gem.
You know something, Andy? I've always had a soft spot in my heart for women in bands that could really deliver the vocals, but also had like a raw, gritty, there's that word again, bluesy kind of approach that could really nail it. And, people like we've discussed before, Sally Cato from Smash Gladys, Sass Jordan, Dale Krantz from the Rosington Collin bands, Bianca Halstead from Betty Blowtorch, who we'll cover in a minute or two, even certainly to a lesser extent, Melissa Etheridge. But I've really have a soft spot in my heart for women that can just growl and belt it out. And so we're going to play here a song that exemplifies this. This is called No Reason to Cry. It's from Princess Pang's one and only album. Every band has a song like this back in the day, right? Stonesy, bluesy. We're going to add that honky-tonk barroom piano, and we're just going to drip these vocals with soul. So go ahead. This is a good one. No Reason to Cry. Turn this one way up.
Princess Pang was a band that had a lot of potential, but due to things like bad timing, industry shifts, the band never really realized any mainstream success. However, their one album remains a testament to the spirit of late 80s hard rock, and those who discover them today still appreciate that unique sound.
I don't know. Well, I stumbled on the album by accident. Again, normally probably a blurb in Metal Edge magazine or one of those magazines at the time had a little blurb. Went out and found it and loved it and turned you onto it. And now we're doing a show on them.
Go figure. We're going to do one more song from the band. And this song is titled I'm Not Playing, which is true for that band right now. But
homie, don't play that.
I chose this song because it also reminds me of another song from that era. Maybe it's just me, but I think this song sounds very similar to the song Rocket Queen by Guns N' Roses. I mean, is it just me or does anyone else feel this way?
Touch of paranoia, Andy. Touch of paranoia.
Yeah, well, anyhow, listen and enjoy.
Here's Princess Pang. I'm not playing. In the second half of our podcast, I am delighted to bring up the subject of a band that's been very near and dear to me all these years later, and that band is Betty Blowtorch. And if you don't know, Betty Blowtorch is a four-piece, all-female band hailing from Hollywood, California, that was formed in 1998, which was 27 years ago for those that are counting.
But who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? The band was started by lead singer and bass player Bianca Halstead, who would later be better known by the name Bianca Butthole. Interesting.
Legal name?
Yeah, on the birth certificate, on the driver's license. The other members making up Betty Blowtorch are Sharon Needles on guitar and vocals, Blair N. Bitch, yes, Bitch, on lead guitar, and what a guitar player she is, and Judy Molish on drums.
Judy Molish is Judy Molish.
Yeah, well, there you go. There would be that would be the name. As a teen in the early 80s, Bianca used to ride her moped to punk shows at the Starwood and the Whiskey A Go-Go, but she didn't gather the confidence and chops to start her own band until the early 90s. And that band was Butt Trumpet.
Butt Trumpet.
What is a butt trumpet, Andy?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure I've played one and played one regularly.
Isn't that a fart?
I believe so.
Wouldn't it have been easier just to name your band Fart?
It would have, but maybe the name was already taken. There may have already been a fart on the scene.
Fart would have been easier on the bass drum logo on the bass drum head than Butt Trumpet.
It makes images run through your brain about what could have been the logo for either Butt Trumpet or Fart.
Don't get me started on the name Shart. Shart, isn't that a death metal band out of Norway? I love that band. I'm just kidding, Pete.
That's a bunch of assholes.
Butt Trumpet is where Bianca met Sharon Needles and Blair N. Bitch, other members of the band, and along with frontman Tom Bone. From what I understand, Tom handled most of the lead vocals and the songwriting duties, but grew frustrated and angry when the one song that was sung by Bianca, You're Ugly, from the band's only album on EMI, that started gaining attraction, and he resented that fact to the point that he was making the others uncomfortable, to the point where they asked him to leave and gave him the boot out of the band, but continued to tour, still using the songs that he wrote.
That takes some balls.
I don't know. You know what his response was?
What's that?
He actually sued the band, but was cool or not uncool, depending. It was a ballsy move. When he sued the band, he had them served while they were playing on stage at a gig.
Mid-show.
He figured he could serve all four members at the same time, so that was kind of some, brilliant thinking.
Yeah, I got that.
Hey, you'll never guess who he got to serve them the papers on stage.
Perry Mason?
No, close. Another guess.
Matlock. Matlock.
No. Who served them the papers on stage while they were playing? None other than Josh Todd, lead singer of Buck Cherry.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, he goes up on stage and hands them papers, and they look at the papers, and they're all being sued by Tom Bone.
I'm all lit up again. And oh, by the way, I got some paperwork for you.
Yeah, look at this. Well, this obviously created such fury on stage that a near riot broke out in the club, and Tom Bone actually had to be escorted off the premises by police.
Well, he was asking for it.
That's a ballsy move. But anyways, that effectively ended Butt Trumpet right there. And knowing that the band was imploding, Needles, Bitch, and Butthole sounds like a very shitty law firm, doesn't it, Andy?
Yeah, they represent a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, but Needles, Bitch, and Butthole, they regrouped as Betty Blowtorch. I don't know. I think I didn't do very much deep dive onto how Bianca stumbled on that name, but I don't know if it was associated with women can do shit, like the old campaign of Rosie the Riveter back in the, we can do it, days or whatever. But
yeah, I don't know. It's a inspired name for sure.
Knowing that the band was imploding, they regrouped as Betty Blowtorch, and they recorded an EP that was independently released on the Foil Records label in spring of 1999. And what was interesting about that EP, it was titled Get Off, and it was produced by Duff McKagan.
Of Guns N' Roses fame.
Guns N' Roses fame. He took a shine to the band and stepped in and produced that first LP. But 2001's full-length LP, titled Are You Man Enough, marked Betty Blowtorch's fierce debut on the Food Chain label, and it was produced by Matt Hyde, who also produced, maybe you've heard of the band's Monster Magnet?
Oh, yeah.
Porno for Pyros?
Yep.
I guess, it was a pleasure working with Matt Hyde, says Bianca. This is the first record where we had more than $700 and we found out what pre-production was.
This time they had an $800 budget.
Matt was a real stickler with timing, and she says we played every day for 9 hours straight.
Jesus.
He was our drill sergeant. But it was good for us because he got us, and he got our humor. All of our songs are real, all true. They're sincere and real life with humor. Even if it's the tragic broken heart song like Love, Hate, there's still that humor. We just can't help it. So at this point, we'd like to introduce you to the greatness of Betty Blowtorch. This is the lead-off track from Are You Man Enough? And the song is called Hell on Wheels. Here we go.
This is a kick-ass song. Turn this up super loud.
Speaking of humor, they got a guest rap vocal from Vanilla Ice. Yes, that Vanilla Ice on the song titled Size Queen, which, if you haven't guessed, it's about penis size.
Ice, penis size, baby.
Size Queen. We'd play you a little of that, but there are far better songs to showcase, and we only have so much room. So instead, here's Betty Blowtorch's take on the butt trumpet song, I'm Ugly, and I Don't Know Why. And we're going to let this one run up through the spoken word part because it's hilarious, and therein lies the humor of Betty Blowtorch. So here's I'm Ugly from Are You Man Enough?
School one day when I saw Dan standing there.
You know, and while Andy and I have discussed in previous episodes that most male bands of the time period on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, there's always an undercurrent of thinly veiled songs containing double, sometimes triple entendres, revolving around all things sexual. That's what she said. Right, Andy?
That's a hard one.
Thank you. We'll be here all day. No, seriously, all day. You know, well, that was kind of refreshing in that some of the ladies in rock could give it right back just as well, if not better, than the guys.
I think they were a little more open with their jokes on the innuendos. I don't know that they were innuendos.
Well, I don't know, Andy. Do you remember where the all-female band, the Donnas, who we covered in a couple episodes back? Do you remember the Donnas kind of hinted at double entendres?
Right.
Betty Blowtorch kicks the fucking doors in.
Exactly.
Am I lying?
No.
Judge for yourself. Here's the song tenderly titled Shut Up and Fuck. I don't know, Andy. What were they trying to say here?
It's hard to tell because it's such a subtle message.
I don't know.
Some of that, maybe this is one of those innuendos you're referring to.
Oh, definitely innuendo. Shut up and fuck. Oh, done and done. You know, at the risk of running songs back to back on this podcast, this does not mean that Betty Blowtorch didn't have a softer, sensitive, caring love song in their catalog, Andy.
Their butthole was a little more sensitive.
Here's a love song sure to make you weep, titled I Wish You'd Die. Who do you think inspired this, Andy?
I'm not sure if this was like aimed at management, record labels, former boyfriends, former girlfriends.
Neighbor's dog.
Yeah, the list is endless.
They canceled Lost. Fuck that show. Anyway, here it is. It's got a great chorus.
I wish you'd die! I wish
You know, the year 2001 turned out to be quite a tumultuous and disastrous year, really, for Betty Blowtorch. Indeed, starting with guitarist Sharon Needles and drummer Judy Molish, they quit the band in the middle of the tour supporting Nashville Pussy. How do you do that, Andy?
Who the fuck quit the tour halfway through? But they didn't just quit the tour. Kind of a more sinister move. They took off with the fucking van and the trailer hauling all of the band's equipment.
So not only you do not have a band, you don't have gear, you don't have the van. Goodbye, lads.
Yeah, I'm out of here. I'm heading back out west to get this shit out of here. I've had enough.
I don't know. That's kind of a bitch move. But then we don't know the whole story.
We don't, but still, either way.
Yeah, you know, you wake up and it's like, where's the van?
Yeah, that's a dick move. I don't give a fuck who does it.
Where's my bass? Fatten heads are going to fatten roll. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, they were forced to recruit guitarist Jennifer Finch from the band L7. And they scored a male drummer who, at name escapes me, no offense, but then I recently found out that it was a guy by the name of Dave Gara.
Dave Gara.
You know, next, you know, the planes hit the towers on 9/11, 2001. So because the band heavily relied on fireworks being a huge part of their stage live show, and those fireworks were packed in the front of their equipment trailer, and New York being somewhat understandably squeamish about shit that blows up.
Yeah, just a little.
The band, who had a gig in New York City, was forced to leave their equipment trailer in New Jersey because of the fireworks.
Nobody wants to go to New Jersey.
New Jersey? Oh, the horror. Well, unless, of course, you're John Bon Jovi.
Which, thankfully, we're not.
When the band, who rarely told the club owners of their pyro-heavy shows, was asked about the Great White Pyro disaster in Rhode Island, Betty Blowtorch claimed to know nothing about the event, but when they did, they had a holy shit moment of clarity and toned that shit down immediately. So there was that in 2001, I guess, but the biggest tragedy happened on December 15th, 2001, when after a club show in New Orleans, Bianca Halstead was killed in an auto accident. In an article written by Rob Jones and published on the December 16th, 2002 KNAC.com website, the article is titled, "Driver Sentenced in Bianca Butthole Death," and it reads, Gretna, Louisiana. An Illinois man was sentenced Friday to 5 years in prison stemming from an automobile accident that killed Bianca Halstead, a.k.a. Bianca Butthole, of the Los Angeles-based rock band Betty Blowtorch, and an additional 3 years for seriously injuring another driver in New Orleans, December 15, 2001. The sentencing terms will be served concurrently. The driver, Brian McAllister, 34, was driving at high speeds under the influence of alcohol. McAllister pleaded guilty in September to vehicular homicide of Halstead, 36, a passenger in his car, when he crashed at 5 a.m. on December 15th, 2001, while traveling on Interstate 10. McAllister also pleaded guilty to vehicular negligent injury of Robert Fenkel, 50, of Colorado Springs, Colorado, who still uses a wheelchair, according to Jefferson Parish Assistant District Attorney Martin Belanger.
This has similarities to the Vince Neil Razzle debacle from,
Yeah, high speed, out of control, and death occurred of somebody that we knew and loved. He could have received up to 20 years for Halstead's death and 5 for Finkel's injury, but Judge Robert Burns presided over the verdict, and Halstead's mother, Angela Woolery, and her brother, Andy Wilson, they both addressed the court on Bianca's behalf at the sentencing hearing, but also in attendance was Betty Blowtorch bandmate Blair N. Bitch, along with family and friends. The Department of Corrections will determine which state prison will be assigned. He will be transferred from Jefferson Parish Correctional Center next week to a Louisiana state facility, says Belanger. McAllister of Burbank, Illinois, was said to be driving in excess of 100 miles an hour in a Corvette when he sideswiped another car, skidded across the median into oncoming traffic, causing a collision with Finkel's car, then hitting a pole.
Over 100 miles an hour. That's just insane on any freeway anywhere.
McAllister's blood alcohol content was measured as a 1.2 at East Jefferson Hospital after the incident. McAllister suffered minor injuries.
Of course.
And walked away. You know, I guess vehicular homicide is death while driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. And he could be eligible for parole after 1 year, but most likely serve 2.5 years to the full sentence of the conviction, says Belanger. You know, Betty Blowtorch, formed in 1998, was in the middle of a tour with Nashville Pussy at the time of the accident in support of their acclaimed debut full-length album, Are You Man Enough?, released on Food Chain Records in 2001. And apparently, here's the kicker. McAllister, who was a fan of Halstead's and a fan of her all-girl rock band, he had attended numerous shows already on that tour, and he borrowed his brother's car to attend the performance at the Howling Wolf Club earlier in the evening. And Bianca, frontwoman and bassist for Betty Blowtorch, was receiving a ride to be dropped off at her hotel at the time of the fatal accident. Bianca, whose hell-raising raucous stage persona epitomized rock and roll excess, well, she actually had been clean and sober for 11 years, Andy.
Wow. It's a pretty good record.
Yeah, I guess she got clean during the butt trumpet years, and she was an active member of Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous, where it was said she was of great service to many in the program.
Giving something back.
Sunday was the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Bianca Butthole Halstead. And again, this article was written December 16th, 2002. So yeah, it's quite a while ago. She's buried in the Garden of Legends at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, California, which is open to the public. The webcast of her memorial service and a photographic tribute can be viewed on the Hollywood Forever website in the Life Stories section under the last name Halstead, Halstead, at www.hollywoodforever.com.
The surviving band members say that one of the cool things, or the only kind of cool thing about this, was that she was buried, her ashes were interred in her favorite Kiss lunchbox.
Kiss lunchbox. How cool is that shit, right?
She was a big lunchbox collector back then.
I have a Kiss lunchbox, Andy.
You do?
Yeah, maybe 1977.
Maybe one day I'll put you in that box.
Back in the day, I don't know if I could have fit, Andy. It's a different story these days. Oh, also, though, you know, an actual substance abuse center called the Bianca Center for Substance Abuse, which opened in November 2008, that's named in her honor.
But not fully named in her honor, because it's not the Bianca Butthole Sobriety Center.
Yeah, well, so I guess it's fair to say that 2001 absolutely sucked for Betty Blowtorch.
Yeah, that was a shitty year for that band.
I don't know. I was on top of this band from the start. I had the release of this album so early that I got a promo cutout CD copy that's not for sale. But I bought it anyways at our local record emporium here in Phoenix called Zia Records. So I was beyond excited when I learned the band was playing in Arizona at a pretty legendary club that sadly doesn't exist anymore called Hollywood Alley.
Great place.
The date of that show was August 16th, 2001. 24 years ago. Ironically, August 16th was the same day that Elvis died, only in 1977, August 16th. So I grabbed my wife, Michelle, and I grabbed my best friend, Ross, and we go to the show 24 years ago. They did not disappoint and hit the stage like they were shot out of a fucking cannon. They leveled the place. They had the crowd going ape shit from the first note. Everybody was on board with the band, and it was evident pretty quickly that there was going to be none of that, these chicks can really play shit, as they were all monster polished musicians. They crushed the place. Don't believe me? Listen to this opening track of a live show titled Rock My World. Here, turn it. If you have a volume knob, turn it up as loud as it will go, and cliche, rip the fucking knob off. You're going to enjoy this.
We're Betty Blowtorch! That's where from Hollywood!
If this is how fucking good the first song of their live set is, can you imagine what you're in for the rest of the show? Listen to the crowd response at the end. Pay attention to the shredding guitar solo, Andy.
So much energy in this band, just fucking off the charts.
I don't know. Blair and Bitch can shred with the best of them. Ridiculously talented. Andy, describe for our listeners what you're looking at.
So if you listen to this show much, you're probably familiar with Gary's infamous cassette collection. But today, Gary brought along the Betty Blowtorch CD for Are You Man Enough? Not only did he bring along this CD, he brought along the sleeve and the signed disc. This has been signed by every band member on the front cover. But not only that, he had the foresight to have the band sign, the entire band sign the CD as well. So not only do we have two sets of their signatures, one of which is a member that's no longer with us, but within that CD, he had the foresight to cut out an article from our local music rag from back in the day, the New Times. This is a very yellow story. The print is pictures, everything are still real clear. The article is from the edition that would have come out August 9th through 15th of 2001.
24 years ago, lads.
So the night after this, the 16th, is when Gary would have been able to go to the show. But what a nice little slice of nostalgia from that era. Just a great article, just like a nice keepsake to have. But the signatures, Jesus Christ.
Andy, would you describe to the viewers what shirt I'm wearing?
Gary is wearing a very nice black T-shirt with long sleeves. And on the front, it has the Betty Blowtorch logo and stars down the sleeves.
What's it say on the back of the shirt, Andy?
It says, Hell on Wheels, 2001.
And what would you say the condition of the shirt is in, Andy?
I would say it's in excellent condition. It looks like it's barely ever been worn.
Now, I bought this shirt at the merch table in 2001. That was 24 years ago. Andy, can you tell me, why do you think the shirt is in as good condition as it is today?
Well, I'm going to tread lightly here, but I'm going to guess that someone put on a lot of weight and the shirt didn't fit anymore, so it spent the better part of 2 decades hanging in a closet.
Correct the moon, though, Andy.
Oh, I won a prize.
I was a fat motherfucker. But things have changed. And now, Andy, I'm currently wearing a shirt. And do you see any folds of flab?
I do not. It actually looks loose on you at this point.
Do I have any man tittage?
Well, you know. So people our age do, but it doesn't show with this T-shirt for sure.
So 24 years later, ladies and gentlemen, I show up to record this podcast today in a vintage Betty Blowtorch tour shirt from 2001, which is 24 years ago. So there's that.
Full circle.
I don't know why at the time this band moved me to the point of I thought I had the need to cut this 2-page article out and actually preserve it and save it. And to be honest with you, when doing research for this episode, I decided to pull this CD out of storage. And when I did and opened the CD, lo and behold, this yellow crinkled piece of paper fell out. And there it is. I somehow 24 years ago thought this was important enough to save and cut out and log for whatever reason. So there you go. So after the show is over, I wander over to the merch table to have my CD signed by all 4 members of the band. And, as they're signing both the dust jacket of the CD as well as the CD itself, I look up behind the merch table, and who do I see standing before me but Michael Schenker and Pete Way of UFO?
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm starstruck because UFO is one of my favorite bands of all time. I remember seeing them opening for Rush in 1977 on the Lights Out tour. And the next day, I go immediately and I buy the Lights Out album, which has remained a favorite to this day and probably be one of the 10 albums that you could take if stranded on a desert island, that goofy game.
Right.
So the girls at the merch table are way amused at my reaction to seeing the guys from UFO. I may have had a few frosty adult beverages.
1 or 2.
And I say out loud to the girls, I say, you girls are great, but this is UFO. Michael Schenker at the time was actually living in Arizona in a town known as Paradise Valley. I guess Pete Way must have been visiting, I assume. So, I asked to shake their hands, and Schenker gives me the stink eye.
Of course.
But Pete, he seems genuinely amused at being recognized, and I do get a handshake from both of them, so huge score for me.
Nice.
Bassist Pete Way is sadly no longer with us and experienced visa problems in the States due to prior drug convictions, so he couldn't tour with the UFO anymore in the United States, was a shame. And he was replaced on bass by Rob DeLuca of the Spread Eagle Band, who we covered in detail a few episodes ago. I don't know, seeing UFO without Pete Way is sacrilegious, but there you go.
Yeah.
So my chance encounter with him remains a favorite memory of that night. Later, Pete wrote a biography called A Fast Ride Out of Here, and I own it. Highly recommended and bittersweet.
Great book.
But I digress. A few random facts about Betty Blowtorch. They appeared in the movie Bubble Boy. I guess Tammy Down of Faster Pussycat was extremely close friends with Bianca, and after her death, he penned a tribute love song titled Bye Bye Bianca, and it was included on the Faster Pussycat album titled The Power and the Glory Hole in 2006. That track features spoken word dedications to Bianca from band members and friends. It's actually a very touching track and a nice tribute to her. And the band, they have a full-length documentary, Andy, a rock doc, if you will. I think we both watched it recently, titled
Yes.
Betty Blowtorch and Her Amazing True Life Adventures, that runs an hour and 48 minutes long, currently available streaming for free on YouTube. It's well worth your time and covers the band in far greater detail than what we can do with our limited time. Don't you think, Andy?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a must-watch. I mean, if you like this band at all, you should watch it. If nothing else, to see the clips from the live performances. I mean, this band was like pure energy.
I don't know, the production from Matt Hyde on that Are You Man Enough album, I mean, it's stellar. These girls, these women rock hard.
Very hard.
There are far too many live performances out there on YouTube to single any of them out. But if you're interested, go ahead and knock yourself out. And it turns out, in the what are we doing lately kind of a thing, I guess the three original members, Molish, Needles, and Blair Bitch, they reunited, I guess buried the hatchet, and brought other podcast that I was listening to an interview. The interviewer actually came right out and said, hey, when you guys left the tour, in the middle of the tour in 2001, what was the reason behind that? And there was never really a reason given for why you guys just bailed and the way you bailed. And they kind of danced around the question, kind of did a Sharon Needles and kind of danced around, kind of gave that Kamala Harris, I'm talking but I'm not saying anything kind of an answer. When the drummer Judy Molish came in and said, hey, you know, there was a combination of things. It wasn't just any one thing. It was a bunch of things. It was tour burnout. It was frustration. It was lack of money. It was a whole, health. It was family. It was a whole bunch of different reasons that led to that. And let's just say that over the years, we've all grown up and we've all learned a bit. So they go ahead and they decide that they're going to play a Bianca Butthole tribute show. So they got a new vocalist named Mia X Rock'n'Rolla. She's on bass and lead vocals. And when they played that tribute show, they got such a positive reaction that they, decided to give it another shot.
Nice.
And so they're still playing various shows as recently as 2023 and 2024. And they released 2 new singles under the moniker Betty Blowtorch in 2022. One single is titled Stronger Than Fear, and the other one is called TP Hoarder, and apparently is about the COVID experience when you couldn't find a roll of toilet paper anywhere. So I don't know. This is the humor again coming out in Betty Blowtorch.
Right. Did you know that at one point that Bianca Butthole was asked to join the band Hole?
Really?
Yeah, I guess she was asked, and her response was, I know that story, and no thank you. And I got to think that being around Courtney Love is probably not good for anybody's sobriety.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, you would have the problem of Bianca Butthole being in Hole. Which Hole is it? Come on. With the real Hole, please stand up.
Yeah, so many jokes.
Or lay down. I guess paying tribute to Bianca and the angry punk rock of Betty Blowtorch, the record label Food Chain, they issued the Rarities collection entitled Last Call in May of 2003. And this 29-track album features outtakes, demos, interviews, and live performances, and it's a definite must-have for dedicated followers of the band. Later on, most recently, Betty Blowtorch members also collaborated with AC/DC members to re-record the classic AC/DC song Touch Too Much. And they did that recently and released, around Valentine's Day a year or so ago, according to a podcast I was listening to. So anyways, the discography of Betty Blowtorch is as follows. They released the EP Get Off in 1999. Their full-length album release, Are You Man Enough, was released in 2001. Last Call was released in 2008. And 2 out of those 3 are available on Spotify, Are You Man Enough and Last Call, and plus the 2 singles, Stronger Than Fear and TP Hoarder. I strongly advise that you seek them out if the music clips in this podcast speak to you. To wrap up, not unlike Princess Pang, an album that was largely considered one and done, but left a large, indelible mark while they were here. Still loved to this day, still somewhat of a cult band, still has somewhat of a strong following. Always have a special place in my heart for my experience with them, and just another chapter in the Rock and Roll Gutter podcast and what happens to people. So, Andy, what do you have to say?
If you're interested, you can go to the music gear for sale site, reverb.com. There's a listing there you can find for Bianca Halstead of Betty Blowtorch and butt trumpet, Fender Precision bass.
Her actual bass?
The actual bass.
That she owned?
Yes.
And played on stage?
Correct. The actual stage used.
For sale?
For sale. It's the pink one that had the, looks like fur glued around the edges of it and a bunch of stickers on it, and it's beat to shit. It had an asking price of $50,000.
$50,000.
$50,000. Now, I don't know if it's
Bianca
sold.
Clapton?
Right. I don't know if it's sold. That's awfully high for any piece of music memorabilia that, regardless of who it was owned by,
Andy would know. How many bases do you currently own, Andy?
1, 2, 3,
conservatively
45.
I'm staring at about 15 in this room.
All right. It shows there were 2 offers, so I don't know if it ever sold, but it's just listed as the sale has ended. But
and how many years ago was that?
About 3 years ago.
So the sale ended 3 years ago and then nobody bought it.
But if you go on to reverb.com and search out Bianca Halstead or Betty Blowtorch or Butt Trumpet, you should be able to find that listing pretty easily.
Still say they should have named their band Fart.
Right. Well, you could do a big show one day with the Butthole Surfers.
Mighty Sphincter.
Yeah, Mighty Sphincter.
Just imagine the papers,
Trumpet.
Andy.
Right.
Coming soon. Fart. No shit. See what I did there?
It could be like Asshole Fest or something like that. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Thank you if you guys have hung out with us this length of time. Thank you very much. Turn your friends on. Give us a positive, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Andy, what do you have to say to the people out there?
If you stuck with us this long, we really appreciate it. Go out and check out both of these bands. Highly recommended, both of them. Watch the documentary on Betty Blowtorch. It's worth your time. But as always, thanks for hanging with us and keep it trashy.
Keep it trashy.
And to our fallen comrade, Mr. Mink, I think Pink Floyd said it best. Wish you were here. You're here in spirit, brother.
Godspeed, Mink, wherever you may be.
You've been listening to the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the dirty world of rock and roll. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast for all the latest updates, news, and more.
Got questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes? Reach out to us at rnrguttermail@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
So join us again next time for another wild ride through the raw and gritty side of rock and roll. So until then, keep it trashy.